if he authorizes more troops in Afghanistan, you can bet that the U.S. is going to be there for many, many years to come. You can bet there will be more U.S. soldiers dead. You can bet there will be more civilian casualties in Afghanistan. You can bet that there will be more recruits for the Taliban. And you can bet that the U.S. taxpayers will be taking away more and more of our precious tax dollars into this sinkhole in Afghanistan. Now, there are other solutions. In fact, there are solutions in the case of Afghanistan, and that is for the U.S. troops to come home. That is for the U.S. to put its resources into making the lives of the people of Afghanistan better. There's a couple of quotes I wanted to show you that are indicative of what needs to be done. When we were in Afghanistan, the people told us that the most of the reasons why people join the Taliban is out of economic necessity. Well, here you have many other people saying that. Joe Biden, March 11, 2009, roughly 70% of Taliban are involved because of money, because they're getting paid. He said this 70% may be persuaded to lay down arms. Then you have McChrystal himself. Jobs could curb Taliban fighting. Time magazine, a discussion of what's happening in Afghanistan. The Taliban aren't fighting for religion, but for money. If they had jobs, they would stop fighting. U.S. commanders agree that jobs are key. This is from Carl Eichenberry, now the ambassador. Much of the enemy force is drawn from the ranks of the unemployed men looking for wages to support their families. And then from Colonel Tom Collins, top Pentagon spokesman in Afghanistan, he says, the vast majority of Taliban fighters are essentially economically disadvantaged young men. So if you could, with a jobs program, get 75% of the people who have joined the Taliban to stop fighting, don't you think this is a cheaper, more humane solution than sending in thousands and thousands and thousands of more of our sons and daughters? Every 1,000 U.S. soldiers that is sent to Afghanistan costs the U.S. taxpayer another $1 billion. So some people have come up with a solution called surge of jobs. And they've looked at what it would cost, and they've come out and said for $3.7 billion, you could actually create millions of jobs for people in Afghanistan. That would help to take them away from fighting with the Taliban, and it would also save the U.S. taxpayer many billions of dollars because it would cost a tenth of what is costing us now to send the U.S. soldiers there. A surge in jobs, not a surge in soldiers. The other thing that's needed is peace talks. Now, some people say that you shouldn't talk to the higher level of the Taliban. There's nothing to talk to them about. They're a bunch of misogynists, they're crooks, they're thieves. Who knows? They probably are. But wars almost always end with peace talks. And they're either going to happen now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, when more and more people have been killed. And in fact, one of the things that Karzai, in his very corrupt election campaign, did was to put out that he would encourage talks with the Taliban. There have already been talks that have been hosted by the Saudi government. And when we were in Afghanistan, they said, talks with the Taliban, go to any embassy in Kabul, and they're happening all the time. But one thing that is missing from any of these talks with the Taliban right now is a sector of the population that represents over 50% of the Afghan people, and that is? Exactly, women. Not one woman has been involved in any of the talks that have been going on right now. And we heard that directly from the women themselves. Women who head NGO organizations, women who work in the government, women who work outside the government, women who work with the United Nations. All of them say that women have been excluded already from these kinds of discussions. And so one of the things that we did while we were there is start a petition and asked Afghan women to sign it, saying They don't want a surge in troops, they want economic development, and when peace talks are happening, they want to be represented at the table. So we took that petition back to the United States and thought, well, how are we going to get this into the hands of somebody that matters? And we figured, okay, Obama was coming to San Francisco, and one of the things he was doing, in fact, I think it was the only thing he was doing, right, was going to a very high-dollar fundraiser. Unfortunate that when he comes to San Francisco, he doesn't have a public town hall, but instead meets with the people who can pay. But in this case, there was a friend of Code Pink who said, I have 2 tickets to that. Instead of taking my partner, I will take a representative from Code Pink to deliver this petition directly to Obama. And so the co-founder of Code Pink, Jody Evans, got a chance to go to that high-dollar fundraiser and got a chance to literally put that petition in the hands of the President of the United States. And it was quite interesting that she said to him, this is from the women of Afghanistan. No, first she said to him that women want to be included in peace talks. And he said, women are included in peace talks. We have Hillary Clinton. And she said, no, that's not what I mean. And he said, yes, I think one of the 5 ambassador level ranks that we have in Afghanistan, I think one of them is a woman. And she said, no, that's not what we mean. And she said, we mean the Afghan women. And he said, oh. So, a surge in jobs. If there are to be peace talks, that women should be at the table and bring the troops home. That's what we have to do in Afghanistan.